We are going to continue our discussion of political philosophy by discussing social contract theory. Social contract theory focuses on this notion that creating a just society is a product of the members of society entering into a social contract. The notion of a social contract can be traced all the way back to Socrates. Socrates believed that he should not flee Athens and flee his execution because he was party to a social contract with the city-state of Athens. They had decided he had violated that contract and that he was to be punished. There's some question as to the validity of that argument, but nonetheless, we're going to fast forward to Thomas Hobbes and the 17th century. In the 17th century, Thomas Hobbes discussed the notion of a social contract and discussed the notion of the nature of human beings. Human nature. Thomas Hobbes believed that we are all self-interested creatures. Okay, we are all naturally out to maximize our own self-interests. What this results in, without a government oversight, without an authority, we basically do whatever we can to get whatever we want. Okay? We would only ever do what we had to do to get the things we wanted, the things we needed, without a government, without an authority looking over us. What this means is, I'm not naturally going to be engaged in cooperation with you. If you have something I want, I'm going to take it. That's just the nature of human beings, Hobbes believed. I need food, you have food, I'm going to take the food from you so that I can then have it. You have something I want, something I need, then I'm going to take it from you, and I might fight you and I might kill you in order to get it. Because without the state, without some sort of government placing rules on that we're supposed to abide by, we simply will not have any reason to be nice to each other. In essence, he says, left to our own devices, we all fall into what he calls a state of nature. And in that state of nature, we are going to be solitary, poor, nasty, brutish. Life is going to be short, and we are all going to die miserable and alone, probably off in the woods. Okay? We're not naturally the sort of creatures that are going to be nice to each other and cooperate with each other. Hobbes believed the state of nature is one of man against man. Each person out for him or herself and will do whatever that person can do to get what's needed or what's desired. There will be no cooperation. There will be no empathy. And we will huddle all alone by ourselves and die, miserable and alone. He was the cheery sort. All right, so what do we do? Because we're not, we're not living lives that are solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. So what's happened? Well, Hobbes says that's exactly why we need the social contract. When we create mutually beneficial rules, we can escape from the state of nature. Hobbes says that by engaging in a social contract, we cooperate with each other and we can all live better lives. Okay? By cooperating, we can trade or barter for goods. I don't have to be concerned about building a shelter and cultivating a crop and raising farm animals for meat or hunting for meat. I can do one of those and somebody else can do the other, and we can barter for goods. By cooperating, we all have a better chance of living long and relatively happy lives. But we have to have a social contract. We have to have those mutually, I'm not drawing, why aren't I drawing? Those mutually beneficial rules set up that we're going to follow. But we also have to have somebody who's looking over us, making sure that we are doing what we're supposed to do. In other words, that we are abiding by the rules. We need a government and we need a leader, and that leader Hobbes called the Leviathan. Okay? The Leviathan is the ruler of our society. The people who come into and create the social contract choose the Leviathan. Okay? We have to engage in this social contract. We have to agree to Leviathan being our ruler freely. But we have to choose well, because once the Leviathan is in power, nothing else can be done. And any rights we have, anything we're permitted to do or to own is granted to us by the Leviathan. So we need to choose the Leviathan well. We want to have somebody who's fair, who will keep our interests in mind, who will be concerned for us, and who will not abuse his power. The only rights any citizen is ever granted come from the Leviathan. If I have the right to vote, it's because the Leviathan has given it to me. If I have the right to own property, it's because the Leviathan has given it to me. And once that Leviathan is in power, it cannot be taken away. We cannot overthrow the government. We placed him in power, and he's there until he dies and we have to place somebody else in power. Okay? The state as a whole is given sovereign and unimpeachable power. Sovereign, complete power. Anything that they say goes, and we are not permitted to overthrow them. We are not permitted to have a coup, a revolution, nothing. That power is unimpeachable. Does that make sense?